Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic with the most ludicrous Sudoku clue I've ever seen. Infinity. This puzzle is called Alto. It's by the pedaling pianist, who definitely deserves his own feature in his own name after impersonating Marty Sears earlier this week with, have I got the puzzle? I think I have, yeah, The Hare and the Tortoise, which was made as part of Skojo's imitation series, where one constructor had to imitate the work of another. That is one of the best puzzles we've ever solved on the channel. And the rules to that puzzle are just so unbelievably amazing. But anyway, this puzzle is another pedaling pianist puzzle, which is by the pedaling pianist, and has been recommended lots of times. And I loaded it up just a few minutes before I turned on the webcam, and look, there's infinity. This diagonal contains infinity. But strange as that looks, I did dimly begin to appreciate what was going on as I read the instructions to this, because you can see there's sort of weird squares outside the main grid here, and that is because today we have to view this grid as a torus or donut, which means that it's sort of never ending. Don't worry if you don't know what I mean. I will explain all when I read the rules in a moment or two's time. Unbelievably, given it has infinity in it, this only has 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so perhaps it will be approachable. But some of the recommendations we've had for this have been fulsome indeed. So the pedaling pianist has done it again, and this is what I'm going to be trying in today's video. Now, a few things to mention before we kick off. We are streaming in not long. If this video goes out on time, which should be 8:30 UK time, then in an hour and a half's time, we're going to be streaming a game called Thank Goodness You're Here. And I am very much looking forward to this. I think this is exactly my sort of humour, this game. I think it's set in the north of England, and it's full of, let's call it, British humour. Now, just a warning, if you don't like innuendo, I think there is one swear word in it, somebody has said, then please don't watch. I know that's an odd thing to be saying on a YouTube channel, but please don't watch. We don't want to offend anybody. But a lot of you have requested that we have a look at this, and I watched the trailer, which features the Lily the Pink, which took me back to my childhood. So I really, really am looking forward to playing this. We'd love to have your company. I'll try and remember to put a link on the screen. 10 o'clock tonight, UK time. Other news. I've mentioned this in a couple of videos recently, but we are actually going to be, Mark and I are appearing at the Stratford Literary Festival, believe it or not. I know that sounds bonkers, but here we go. We're going to do a live episode of Cracking the Cryptic on the 27th of October at 10 a.m. And there'll be a Q&A, there'll be a chance to meet people. And so if you've ever wondered if we are actually real, or and we're not AI, then do come along. We'd love to meet you. And the only thing to say is there are not many tickets. So if you would like to come, then do book soon. And yeah, it's going to be, it should be quite good, I think. Anyway, that's another thing to mention. Over on Patreon, we've got our competition still running for the month of September. It's the Hollywood Lunchbox, themed on famous sandwiches that have appeared on TV and the movies, on TV and in the movies over the years. And lots of you now have managed to work your way through that pack, so very well done to everyone who has done. But there's still a chance. If you haven't even looked at it yet, you'll definitely get it done by the closing date, which is the 20th. And have a go. You really will enjoy it. Lots of sandwich Sudokus. Then anything else I need to mention? Oh, birthday. I mustn't forget the birthday. I've only got one today. Rosanna, it's your birthday. And I know this because your partner Ian wrote to us. And I think, Rosanna, you have the week off work to celebrate your birthday. You might be going away, actually. So I hope you have a great break this week. And I know Ian and Dasher the cat appreciate you so much. And Rosanna, I hope you have chocolate cake today, of course, with an enormous ratio of icing to cake. And that's all the news. So why don't we have a look at what Alto by the pedaling pianist has in store for us. These are the rules of the puzzle. we've got normal 6x6 Sudoku rules apply. It says, i.e. place the digits 1 to 6 once each into every row, column and 2x3 rectangle. Yeah, so we've got to put the digits 1 to 6 in every row, column and every one of these little boxes here. Right, then we have to shade every cell one of two colours, such that each colour forms a single orthogonally connected area, and no 2x2 area is entirely one colour. So I'll do my standard. Will my standard pattern? No, my standard pattern will work today, won't it? It's just a bit abridged. I normally do this in a 9x9 grid, so we could have a pattern like this. So if you study this, it's sometimes called yin-yang, this rule. You can see that every green cell can connect to every other green cell via cells or green cells that share an edge with each other. So imagine this square was green. Total misclick. Imagine this square is green. This square is not orthogonally connected to this one because it only touches it at a point, and that is jolly naughty and won't achieve orthogonal connection. So all the greens are connected. You can see all the blues are connected, and I don't think you'll find a 2x2 area which is entirely one colour. So this is a potential pattern. However, there are more rules here. The next rule is clues outside the grid show the sum of the digits in the first continuous run of same coloured cells along marked diagonals. So let's not do the infinity, which will be amusing. But the 24 clue then is summing up those cells. However, there is a new rule. So the 24 clue might be summing up those, but it might be summing up more than those because of the next rule, which says the grid is toroidal, i.e. each edge of the grid is considered to be adjacent / orthogonal to its opposite edge. So it's like if you folded the grid. Imagine the grid was made of paper and we folded it so that the two ends met. What that means is that this square here is actually adjacent. It's orthogonally adjacent to that square there. It doesn't look like it is because, of course, in 2 dimensions it's hard to show that 3-dimensional connection. But this cell is connected to this cell is connected to this cell, etc. Now there's an example. It says, for example, the second cell pointed at, Maverick's been about to fly over, so apologise if there's any aeroplane noise. The second cell pointed at by the 22 diagonal clue. Yeah, so you can't write 22 into that square. That should be obvious. Is row 2, column 1. Yeah, oh gosh, so actually, right. Yeah, so it's complicated here because so the concept of diagonal in a torus is weird, isn't it? Because effectively we go off the grid here to this square, but that square is the same as this one. So it's sort of, that is a diagonal of this puzzle. Let's do another one. Let's do the 24 diagonal. So that one is that. That is a diagonal in the puzzle. The 10, that is a diagonal in the puzzle. I know it's weird, but that's how toruses work. So it says for the avoidance of doubt, hang on, let me read this again. For example, the second cell pointed at by the 22 diagonal clue is row 2, column 1. I understood that bit. And for the avoidance of doubt, this cell is orthogonally adjacent to row 2, column 6. Yeah, well, that's obvious. Well, not obvious, but that's how toruses work, literally. Yeah, so these two cells are orthogonally adjacent, even though they may not at first blush look it. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I'm going to start with the infinity clue, because surely this is saying that in this direction, yeah, so if we draw the diagonal represented by this clue, it's there, isn't it? And because we reach a total of infinity, or when we get here, that diagonal continues again, there again. So we sort of cycle around the grid infinitely because all of these must be the same colour. So infinity is a valid, infinity in this puzzle along a diagonal is a valid concept because we're just going to spin round the donut forever. Oh, goodness me, we're going to have, what are we going to have? Mobius strips and Klein bottles before you know it. Yeah, so I think that's what we're learning here. So in terms of our yin-yang shading, effectively what we're learning is that all of these squares are the same colour. Now, okay, so what else do we learn then? Now the thing I'm slightly nervous about here is in yin-yang usually we have checkerboard restriction. So you could normally in a yin-yang you can't have a sort of a pattern like this because you have to connect orthogonally the purples, and to do that you'll isolate a yellow however you do it. But I'm not sure. Actually, let's just think about that a bit more carefully. So if you did have this, is it... Yeah, you see, why couldn't I? Just look at the purple and the yellow for a moment. If I did that, I mean, it's ludicrous, but if I did that, the purples have connected themselves, and at first blush it looks like the yellows can't connect themselves, but the yellows can if we do that, because this one is orthogonally adjacent to that one. So checkerboard logic is not valid in this. And that means I can't use my other secret. Because my other secret of yin-yang is that normally the perimeter of a yin-yang puzzle can only have one change of colour along it, basically. So you can have two shadings of colour. So if my second colour here was purple, I could have a green, and then I could have a purple, and then the rest of it would have to be green. I couldn't have another purple bit, because if I did, to connect the two purples together, however I did that, I would be cutting off green from the rest of green. But that falls out. That is the result of the checkerboard logic, which we've just shown doesn't work. So, okay, well let's the 22 clue has to come some way down here, doesn't it? Even if we don't know its colour. So the 22 clue is, I mean, if this was 6 and that was 6, that's 12. So we've still got to go at least to here. That's the minimum we're going. So these 4 cells are all the same colour. Can they all be green is the question. If they're all green, no, that's very straightforward. Okay, so the logic here is if the 22 clue begins with green, the green has to extend to at least this square, possibly further. But that's going to make that square not green, because that's a 2 by 2, and even with toruses, that's a 2 by 2, so that would have to be the other colour. And now I can't write 10 into this square. Actually, it really throws you this, because I'm having to question everything, but there is no way that 10 clue is valid, because it sees purple, so it needs to see at least 2 cells to add up to 10, and it isn't. So actually, this is the second colour, so that's purple, all of these are purple, and this one might be purple, but yeah, this might be purple, but what you can't do, it's not possible for both of those to be purple, because if both of these were purple, this would be infinity again, because it would be running down a diagonal that just kept going. So a maximum of one of these is purple, not 2. But neither might be purple. They could both be green if if these added up to 5. But how does that... Oh yes, okay. I was going to say, how does that connect to the rest of the grid? But actually, it's got options, hasn't it? Because it could come off the torus that way and hit this one, or off the torus that way and hit this one. So it's not too... It's got options to get out, even though it looks like it hasn't. Yeah, and it's all going to be weird, this, because in this section of the grid, there must be some purple. We can't make all of those squares green, can we? Or we'll break the 2 by 2 rule. So there's some purple down here at least, and that has to escape from the wall of green via the torus. This is weird. It's absolutely weird. So... Okay. Well, hang on. If this is purple, the 10 clue, that must be purple. Because otherwise, if this is green, we have to write 10 into it. We've already looked at that. So at least these 2 squares is the minimum extent of purplification here. If we purple that, then we get a 5. A 5 dice move. But, okay, but now these greens are cul-de-saced, and the greens do have to connect to their friends, so that must be green, and this has to get out. There's only one way out. It's via the torus. Oh, this is wonderful. This is weird and wonderful. That could be purple if it's a 5. No, I was about to say that purple has to come there. That's nonsense, isn't it? Because the purple could come out and poke there. So the 24 clue, how does that work then? The 24 clue is going to be... the 24 clue, if that's a 6-5 and that's a 6-6, that is 23. That's not enough. Right. Ah, okay, but forget that. We don't need that. The 24 clue is not green. Because if it was green, let me show you, what on earth is this cell now? And by the 2 by 2 rule, that's purple, and that it doesn't matter about the torus, that can't get out. So the 24 clue is purple. And we just worked out it must take at least 5. This is really interesting. It must take at least 5 cells because the most these can add up to is 23. So that is purple on the diagonal. But I tell you something, this is not purple, because if that's purple, I've learnt now that creates infinities. And we only have one infinity, so that must be green. Otherwise, that diagonal is going on forever again. So that's purple, because to stop a 2 by 2. Oh, and that gets out. Look, it goes down here and hits that one. Oh, this is going to be incredibly difficult to keep track of now, because... No, that could be green. I was looking at this 5 clue, but if those were very little, that could be a little digit, and you could have a run of 3 different numbers adding to 5, because you could repeat a digit here. If these were 3 different numbers, they would be a minimum of 1, 2, 3, which is 6, which is too high. But because that can repeat, because this isn't in the same box as these 2, that could be green. Hang on. Right, so what do we have to do now? I have got to... Well, this area here is difficult, isn't it? Yeah, that is difficult. So imagine that this was purple. Now, I think it's very true to say this has connected to this, which is connected to this, but that little area, that triomino, I'm going to call it a triomino, it doesn't look like one, but I think toroidally it is. How does it connect to anything else? Now, this square could have got out via the torus, but it doesn't, because that's purple. So that is an enclosed area, and that's not possible. It's not connected to the rest of its friends. So that square is green. And now we're still penned in here. Well, no. Okay, well now we have options, though. That is a region, except that this could poke. If this goes north, it would it would appear in the south, or it goes there and it would get out here. So okay, I don't know what to do with that. The 10 diagonal, we've got. It's quite difficult for those two to add up to 10. They would have to be a 6 and a 4. So if this is purple, sorry, if this is green, so that we're capping out this sum as just those two digits, then this is a 6 and a 4. Sorry, I realise I've just stopped talking. I'm trying to think about something. I'm trying to think. I'm actually looking. Sorry, I'm still doing it. I'm looking at these 4 squares. And I'm trying to understand. What I was thinking is that it's not possible that all these are purple, because obviously I get loads of 2x2s. So there's some greenliness in here. But the greenliness is sort of walled in by the lines of purple. So I want to say that anything green I put in this area has to get out to either the northwest or the southeast. I mean, if you... Yes, okay, so that is interesting, I think, for this square. I might be wrong about this, but if that's green, how does it connect to its friends is the question I want to ask. So if this square is green, how does it connect to its friends? Now, if it decides, okay, I'm going to connect to my friends by going in a northwesterly direction, then it would have to take these squares, wouldn't it, at least, and then it's going to have to go up here. But that's going to fence this in. That doesn't work. So if this is green, we have to go this way, but that's going to fence this one in. So either way, that's impossible. I think that has to be purple. Now, okay, that's actually rather cool, because now I'm going to claim 2 things as a result of that. The first thing I'm going to claim is it's not possible for these 2 squares to both be purple. And therefore this square is definitely green. If this was all purple, that's a 2x2, isn't it? So either this is green, which would make this green to get that green out, or this is green. But either way, that's definitely green. And, okay, but if that's definitely green, how does that get out? Because it doesn't get out there, does it? So it must get out here. Oh, no, okay. And now how does this get out? Pedaling Pianist, your brain it should be pickled and put in a museum. Because how you come up with this nonsense, I don't know. But look at this purple now. How does that get out? It doesn't get out there. So it must go up there, mustn't it? And now it gets... Oh, but now, hang on. Now what's going on? Because now I think I've made a... Oh, no, okay, I see. I have made a funny region. This is a triom... a triomino. It's a triomino. It's one of those. But it's not a sealed in triomino because this could go there and that could go there. So actually, although that looks bad, I don't think it's quite as bad as I thought. Okay, the other digit, or this other cell I could see was interesting, was this one. Because I can't make a 2 by 2 of purple there. So one of these at least is green, and therefore that is always green. So it's the same sort of logic we did up here. And that green has to get out. But I think it can, can't it? And I still haven't worked out how far the 10 clue goes. Maverick does another fly past. I need to ignore this clue, and this clue. I haven't done the numbers, but I've dealt with those clues. I haven't done that one. That is 3 greens. So these have to be very small. Well, all 3 of them really have to be very small. That digit has to repeat in one of those 2. And this... Oh, this is complicated, actually. How do we do this? Right, maybe that square is where we look now. This might be wrong again, but I started that by looking at this square and saying, how did that get out? And I could see it went to there. From where it's going to connect into this, isn't it? Either via this one or this one, but it must do one of those things. It can't go there and then get out because that square is green. So this region here is some sort of thing. And how does it connect to the rest of purple? So how does, this one and this one, and they are all connected somehow. Either like that or like this. But they have to get out of that area. And they can't get out via the torus here. So I think they have to get out in a sort of conventional way. And now this square, by 2 by 2 logic, is green. And that square... Well, that can't be it. That must get out. So it goes there. But I'm still in the same conundrum. This region here, so I'm looking at that region. That has not connected to the rest of purple. And the only way I can see it can is if this is purple. And okay, and now it gets far more complicated. Because now this has connected here, which could connect here and here via that. Or if this went down here and both of these were purple, that would connect here, which would connect here. Oh, maybe that one always has to be purple then. No, that doesn't, because that could be purple and then connect across the torus there. Okay, but what about that green? That's got to get out, so that's got to go there. Now we've built an H in the grid. Oh, wait a moment. How does that get out? Yes, that's nice. Right, so this one is connected to here via the torus, but that region is not a complete green region, is it? So how do we get out? We can't come across the torus here because that bumps into a purple. So we must come across the torus here, and that must be green, which means that's purple to avoid a 2 by 2, which means that's green to avoid a 2 by 2, and that green doesn't get out there because that's purple, so it gets out there. And then, didn't I think that had to be purple? No, well, certainly there was one iteration where it had to be purple. That was green. Sorry, that's not green, it's purple. That gets out here. Yeah, how does that get out is the simple question. And it must get out here. That's the only way. It gets out via a northerly collection here, coming back into the torus here, which then pops out of the torus that direction into here, and that gets us here, which pops into there. There you go. That is the region division. That is absolutely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. But it's going to be good, because now this is a 4-6 pair, because the 10 diagonal is shortened. Now, do we do the 5 diagonal now? So the 5 diagonal, these two squares, we're adding this one, aren't we? So if this is 1 or 2, and this is either a 1-3 pair if this is a 1, or it's a 1-2 pair if this is a 2. There is definitely a 1 on that diagonal. And then these two squares are also adding up to 5, but they look less restricted. The infinity clue is absolutely useless, but it's still the most magical thing. The 22 clue, we are adding 4 digits up to add up to 22, which means that 22 is still quite high in a puzzle that only goes up to 6. So if the maximum size of that is 5, so the maximum size of that, yeah, okay, these two squares, imagine these were maxed out, both 6s. That gives us 12, which means these two squares have to add up to at least 10. How can we do that? There's no way of doing that if that's a 4, because I can't write 6 into this square, because if this is 4, that's 6. So actually, this is 6, which means that's 4. So that must be 5, because if it's, yeah, if this is not 5, if this is 3, I've got 9, which means these squares have to add up to 13, and I can't put 6 and 7 into them because there are no 7s in this puzzle. So that's 5. These add up to 11. These are a 5-6 pair to get us up to 22. They are different digits, though. Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely beautiful. I can see exactly what that's doing. Let me just flag those. They have to be different because they have to add up to 11. And now look at the 24 diagonal. That square sees the yellow digit and the blue digit. That digit sees the yellow digit and the blue digit. So the maximum size of those squares is now 4. The maximum size of this square is 5. The maximum size of that square is 6. How are we at? We're up to 19. So this is at least a 5. So that's a 5 or a 6 here. There's a 5-6 pair in this column, and that's yellow as a result, because it's not blue. And there's 1 degree of freedom, isn't there, along the diagonal? Yes, okay, but this square must be a 6, because it doesn't have the option of being 5 or 4. So if we change this to a 3, let's just satisfy ourselves that's impossible, but it's going to be very impossible. If that's 6 and that's 3, we're on 9, 14. These two squares have to add up to 10, and they both have a maximum value of 4. So that's totally wrong. Well, actually that's huge, because that being 6 actually makes yellow 5. So blue is the 6th digit. Now what's that done to the world? I don't know, but it's got me a 6 there. I'm going to do that. That's a 6 by Sudoku. That's a 6 by Sudoku. I think I've just done all the 6s. I want to think about these, though. These have to add up. Yeah, hang on. Yes, we've lost effectively by losing the ability for this to be a 6. Everything else on this diagonal is now maxed. So we've got 11 here. So these have to add up to 13, and I've put the maximums in, and they would get us to 13. So they're double 4, 5. That's 5 by Sudoku. That's 5 by Sudoku. 1, 2. I've done all the 5s. What about the 4s? I can do that 4. I can do that 4. That's going to be good on the I'll do it in a moment. Let's just finish the 4s quickly. That's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've done all the 4s. That's a 1 now by the 5 diagonal. So that's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 1. That's a 1. This is absolutely brilliant. That is a 1. Oh, okay. So this is a 2 to make that 5 diagonal work. So that does the 2 and the 3 over here. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. That's a 3 by Sudoku. That's a 2. That's a 1. That's a 3. That's a 2. That's a 1. That's no. That's a 2. That's a 3. That is, I think, I'm going to get rid of the yellow actually. It's polluting the beauty of that puzzle. I mean, that is absolute lunacy. It's right. 58 people in 5 days. Lunacy. Pure lunacy from the Pedaling Pianist in the most wonderful way. You know, it's just wit. It's panache, isn't it? It's Cyrano de Bergerac in the form of Sudoku, putting an infinity clue in a diagonal, and then, you know, what on earth that shape was we had to draw, I don't know, but it was so clever the way it resolved itself. I tell you what I really liked. I can't remember, but there was like a wall of diagonals. Is it there? Oh, that's a terrible choice of colour. There was like a wall there and a wall something like that. And noticing that you had to sort of escape a purple from in that region that was lovely, absolutely lovely. That is a world-class puzzle. I don't know why it's called Alto. Someone will explain. Hopefully we'll see some of you later on, but thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness you are here, if you are still watching. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.